Oh, hey Kermit. Wait, how did you get in the... Ah! Kermit! Don't spook me like that! What's that thing you're holding? Muppet Monster Adventure? What, you want me to play that? But it's not even Halloween! Oh! A quick little question before we begin. Who remembers PS1 demo discs? Yep, I can't believe I'm getting old enough to have to say this, but some of you people watching might be too young to remember that there was a time before we downloaded our game demos directly onto our consoles. You see, when the PlayStation 1 dropped and disc format console games became dominant, gaming magazines started to come with these little demo discs that would include brief tasters of various upcoming games. Meaning you'd have a whole stack of discs full of demos you could play over and over, pining for the day you might actually get the full game. I have mentioned before that my parents weren't really the type to understand video games or give them as presents, and how I didn't live anywhere near any game stores growing up, so playing these demos were about the only way I could really keep up with new games. And hell, I couldn't even get the magazines, so I had to borrow them from the local library in order to get the demo discs, and just pray to God some asshole kid hadn't scratched them to hell and back. Among the many games I tried this way, the one I most clearly remember playing was Muppet Monster Adventure. Back then, my only knowledge of the Muppets was the Muppets Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island, and a few episodes of Muppets Tonight, but I already loved cartoons and monsters. And a game full of cartoony characters dressing up as vampires and Frankenstein monsters and other goodness just seemed so cool to me. And now that I'm an adult and a big fan of both the Muppets and of horror movies, it seems like it's time I finally sit down and play this game. So right off the bat, just the title and box art alone is going to make you question where the hell the idea for this game came from, since Muppets and horror aren't exactly the first two things you'd think of putting together. And then you remember that the Muppets already have a lot of monsters among their ranks, and that the original show had guest stars like Vincent Price and Alice Cooper, and that the game is loosely based on a cancelled Muppet Haunted House film, and suddenly everything makes sense again. Moving on. Surprisingly, in this game you play as Kermit the Frog's oft-forgotten nephew, Robin. The story begins when Robin goes on vacation to Transylvania with all the classic Muppet characters. And also Clifford, just so you know the game came out in the 90s. Mind you, I'm not taking digs at Clifford because I dislike him or anything. I liked him fine on Muppets Tonight, and he's a perfect fit for his role in this game. I just always found it pretty funny how hard they were trying to make him a thing back then. Anyway, it turns out it's not quite a vacation. In fact, they're all accompanying Dr. Honeydew as he goes to inspect the spooky old mansion that he inherited from his deceased uncle. But all of a sudden, Robin is knocked down by a mysterious force and passes out. When he wakes up, he's in a lab with Honeydew, Beaker, and Pepe the Prawn, who claim that all the other Muppets were transformed into spooky monsters and are now rampaging through the country. So, of course, it's up to Robin to stop them with the use of a gauntlet built to collect evil energy, and thus turn the Muppets back to normal. Overall, I do like this cutscene. We have all the classic voices, a little bit of Muppet silliness in places, the graphics are fairly nice. But they don't actually show the Muppet transformations, which is a real shame, cause all their monster designs are really cool and kind of hilarious. Gonzo becomes a vampire named Nosferatu, Fozzie turns into the Waka Waka Werebear, Clifford becomes the Muck Monster, and Kermit and Miss Piggy become the Kermonster and Kermonster's ghoul friend. I mean, come on, how great is that? So the game gives us these awesome character designs in this hella rad cover art, and never lets us get a good pre-render look at the Muppet monsters themselves? Come on, man, that's bullcrap! Anyway, we have our mission and we're off to the races. And holy crap, the game's first level, Peacock Purgatory, is excellent. I know I haven't even talked about the actual gameplay yet, but this level gives you every opportunity to figure it all out on your own. It's huge, peaceful, has no immediate dangerous enemies, and lots of environments and objects for you to interact with to properly learn your moveset and your goals, and it even hides a few things just well enough that you gotta snoop around for them a bit. I gotta say, good job on that one. The game is a 3D free-roaming platformer with some mild collectathon elements. You go around the levels collecting hundreds of shards of evil energy, which you use to unlock access to later levels. You also pick up the more elusive Muppet tokens, either by finding them in hidden spaces, collecting the 5 letters of the word bonus, or completing little minigame challenges. These in turn open up boss battles, who upon defeating them gives you access to a new set of stages. To defend yourself from enemies, you have 2 attacks at your arsenal, tied to the circle and square buttons respectively. A glove blast and... Oh! This looks familiar. Some enemies and item containers can be hurt by both attacks, while others can only be hurt by one or the other, requiring you to know when which one is appropriate if you want to properly kick monster butt and collect all that precious evil energy. Now, if what I'm describing sounds really familiar to you, it's because you've played this game before. It's called Spyro the Dragon. The evil energy is treasure, the Muppet tokens are basically dragon eggs, and the method of progression by collecting enough stuff to unlock levels rather than just reaching the end of a level to do so is very reminiscent of Spyro. In fact, Muppet Monster Adventure very much follows the lead of most of the other platformers that came before it, such as Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Crash Bandicoot. It even kind of has a Croc vibe, given how the game's idea of turning everything into a Muppet is just giving them big old googly-moogly eyes. Hell, even the game's most notable feature kinda boils down to basic platforming moves. You see, one of the selling points of the game is the monster transformations. Robin can turn into mini versions of the monsters all the other Muppets have become, giving him certain skills that are all triggered by pressing the triangle button. These skills include gliding by turning into a big vampire bat, using the werebear's claws to climb, Cur Monster's strength to push objects out of the way, swimming by becoming the Mug Monster, and, probably most hilariously, breaking cracked walls with big old karate chops courtesy of Miss Piggy. All of these forms may come with overly simple applications, but I'll be damned if they aren't fun and cute in their own way. And I gotta say, watching Robin go pink and grow a little skirt when he does the karate chop is just the most precious thing. And just in case you can't figure out the gameplay on your own, you do have a helpful guide who pops up to help you whenever you go near his little hint flag. Pepe the Prawn.
Hola, as promised, I, Pepe, will be on the air to help you rescue Carmen and the rest of our friends.
You're going to get tired of him very quickly.
Hola, 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 hola.
It's not that he isn't helpful exactly, but his hint flags are everywhere. He says this every time you pass by them, even if you've already read the hints, and his characteristic is used so much here that all it does is prove that he's a much funnier character in moderation. But you have to check every hint flag, because sometimes he triggers mini-games that earn you Muppet tokens. So you better be a big Pepe fan if you want to play this game, because he will not stop talking. Hey, who's your favorite Muppet? Wrong! It's Pepe now. And why is this little shit making me go through hoops to get Muppet tokens anyway? Everybody got turned into monsters, Pepe. Monsters! Only the Muppet tokens can turn them back. So why do I gotta play Simon before you give it to me, Pepe? Why do I gotta climb a bunch of sunflowers, Pepe? Why do I gotta play hide and seek with a ghost, Pepe? You too, Rizzo. Why do you keep playing keep away with the Muppet tokens? Aren't the Muppets your friends too?
See, good work, Robin. You earned this Muppet token, okay?
God damn it, Pepe! I shouldn't have to earn it! Give me the fucking token! And it doesn't help that his dialogue is full of jokes and pop culture references.
Snakes? Why did it have to be snakes? I hate the snakes, okay? Do you see what I did there? A little Indiana Jones thing. This is good, no?
Now, again, it's not that these aren't funny, but if you fail at whatever task he gives you, he repeats them when you want to try again.
Pearls? I thought diamonds were a girl's best friend.
Now, at first, these may make you go... and hearing them a second time might make you go...
I understood that reference.
But when you have to hear them over and over and over and over because of one minigame you're having trouble with, you're gonna go... Shut up!
Okay.
Finally, we should talk a little about the levels themselves, as well as the music. It's all... fine. The levels are big and open, with a portal exit you can use anytime after you reach it, again a bit a la Spyro, and a few do require a bit of going back and forth and opening various doors to find all the goodies. Now, I wouldn't consider many of these levels super memorable exactly, but they do the job well enough. And while they might be a little stuck, there are a few fun things to be found here and there. The stage names, for instance, are full of dumb little puns that fit right in with the Muppets. Don't tell me you don't chuckle a bit of stuff like Croclahoma or Village of the Darned. You might also sometimes find Beaker just sort of standing around in a level.
Hey, it's Beaker! If you find him around the levels, just shoot him.
Jesus Christ, Pepe, does Beaker owe you drug money or something? He's right though. Normally you open new areas just by hitting switches like these, but sometimes it takes setting off Beaker's jetpack to make him barge into an obstacle and blow it up. It's pretty funny. There are also a few levels that do go the extra mile to make this feel like a Muppet game. Like Temple of Pork, one of Miss Piggy's stages. For the most part, it's just an Indiana Jones-like temple, right until you notice that all the wall markings are actually pictures of Link Hogthrob and Dr. Strange Pork from the Pigs in Space sketches. That's a pretty cute little detail. And to quickly cover the soundtrack, it's pretty good. Again, nothing too memorable, but there are some pretty nice original tracks in here, and some levels use a slightly spookier version of the classic Muppet Show theme, which works way better than you might be thinking. So all in all, this is a very standard platformer that just happens to have horror-themed Muppets in it, but I don't think that takes anything away from the game. Not everything needs to be reinvented every time a new game is made. With that said though, the game has a few odd design choices here and there. For example, the game very helpfully displays a little icon in the corner when you're near a place where you can use a monster ability. You just tap triangle and Robin will transform, do his thing, and instantly turn back. This is super helpful. But Gonzo's ability is gliding. You can glide whenever you jump. Which means that literally every jump you make has Gonzo appear in the corner for a second. And rather than a more intuitive second press of the jump button, you have to move your thumb to the triangle button in order to trigger the glide. It's not that this is super intrusive or anything, you get used to it fast, but it is pretty noticeable. And I don't think I'd have such a problem with it if it wasn't for that look on his face. I mean, look at him! He looks like he just heard about frog legs being a French delicacy, and like he's trying to come up with a polite way to ask Robin if he can try a bite. Oh shit, looks like I'm low on health. Well, good thing there's a health pickup right over there. Let me just go grab that and... You little bitch! That's right, the health pickups actively avoid you. And the game really likes putting them at the very edge of cliffs or other dangerous areas too, meaning you might actually fall to your death just from trying to pick up an extra hit point. Of all the places to start getting innovative with your otherwise basic platforming game, why the fuck would you pick something as basic as health pickups? Also, I know I bitched about Pepe and his minigames already, but I haven't even told you about the worst ones. And those are the goddamn races! Most of Pepe's minigames are simple things like grab the things within the time limit, or play a game of Simon, or solve a block puzzle, and all of it is kept pretty easy even for the children it's intended for. But once in every batch of levels, he'll have you race against an enemy. This wouldn't be too bad if the levels were in any way designed for racing. Oh, the first two races aren't too bad. They go in a fairly straight line, and once you figure out that you can dash by holding R1, they're easily won. But most levels in this game are platforming levels full of bottomless pits, and when running, Robin can only turn in these quick little bursts. Which makes races really awkward once they start requiring precision jumping, sharp turns, and send you up spiral staircases. And you cannot slow down to turn properly, since the enemy is way faster than you. So you gotta keep dashing, but you will most likely just careen off the edge of the stage or miss a flag and have to go back to go through it again, lose the race, and have to listen to Pepe's stupid fucking jokes before you can try again for the 900th time. Now you could argue that this is what makes it challenging. But I would argue that any challenge that relies on making the player wrestle with controls that work against them is not a legit challenge in the first place. And finally, while the music is good overall, it doesn't really loop very well. It kinda just stops, leaving you in a deafening silence for a bit before picking back up. And when this happens after you've killed every enemy in the stage and you're just running around a level trying to find whatever pickups you might have missed, the game is weirdly quiet and empty. Also, this has nothing to do with how the game plays or anything, but I find Robin's death quote hilarious. He sounds less like he's failing a mission to rescue his friends and family, and more like an old man who just realized he brought laxatives on vacation instead of heart medicine.
Oh, this can't be good.
So, no, this game isn't exactly the most polished thing I've ever played. I mean, it's perfectly playable, I'm having fun, don't get me wrong, but everything that isn't basic platforming feels a little bit slapdash, like it was thrown in at the last second to make the game feel more ambitious. But hey, we're here to see all the classic Muppet characters get turned into timeless movie monsters. And each of them gets their own boss fight. So why don't we take a look at those? As tended to be the case with these classic 3D platformers, few of the boss fights are fights per se, and more little gimmicky levels where you do one thing a few times to beat them. Still, there's certainly an upgrade from the first Spyro game that this one seems so inspired by, so that's a plus. First on the list is Gonzo as the terrifying vampire Nosferatu. And fittingly for someone who is not just the first boss, but also the wackiest character in the game, who has now been transformed into arguably the most iconic movie monster of all time, His boss battle sucks and is boring and tedious. What you gotta do is dodge his onslaught of skeleton minions, then his fireballs, and then throw a chicken at him 3 times in order to win the fight. Which, when you remember how Gonzo usually feels about chickens, just kinda comes across as trying to fight Dracula by throwing naked supermodels holding blood bags at him. It wouldn't even be so bad if it wasn't so freaking tedious. The skeletons take forever to stop coming, and half the time you barely even need to dodge them. Look, I can just park Robin over here and pretend he's on Sesame Street learning to look both ways before he crosses the street. Also, I think he's enjoying getting beaten by a child a little too much. I need an adult! I am an adult! Next up is my man Fuzzy Bear. Good grief, the second boss is a bear!
No, he's a not. He's a wearing a necktie.
And holy crap, look at this. He really pulls out all the stops. Buzzsaws, boulders, fucking bees. He's easily the most threatening looking boss of the bunch. Which of course means he's also the easiest. Seriously, I barely even tried here. All you have to do is run in a circle and hit these levers to make a rock fall on his head. Poor Fuzzy. He fails at being funny, he fails at being scary. Don't worry, big guy. You're still my favorite Muppet. Next up is Kermit as the Kermonster, and hold up, why the hell is Kermit the third boss? And after that you fight Clifford, and then you fight Miss Piggy. I mean, maybe the developers thought that would be too obvious or something, but wouldn't it make more sense to work your way up to Kermit and then fight the real villain of the game? Oh well. Anyway, Kermit's boss fight is probably the first one to feel more like a fight than a gimmick. Here you actually have to run around and dodge as he causes shockwaves and throws crates. It's pretty decent all around. Although I will admit I'm getting kinda tired of this voice clip.
Heave-ho! Heave-ho! Heave-ho!
Whoa, hey, Kermit, no need to be a sore loser. That is super uncalled for. Alright, fourth boss, here we go. This time it's Clifford as the Muck Monster, and whoo, boy. You thought the spin attack was a little too much like in Crash Bandicoot? Well, enjoy this fight. It's basically exactly like the original fight against Tiny Tiger. Or, well, more like its geriatric uncle. This fight is so slow it actually trips me up more than the Tiny Tiger fight just because the timing feels so damn awkward. But seriously, you just jump around on disappearing platforms. Clifford doesn't even bother getting off his platform and chasing you or anything. He just throws bombs instead and waits for you to conveniently electrocute him. But hey, what did I expect? It's not like the game has given me any kind of underwater ability I could use to fight the character that is not only an actual fish, but has also been transformed into a famous swamp monster. None whatsoever. The fifth boss is Miss Piggy as the ghoul friend of Kermonster, and I gotta admit that while this battle is stupidly easy, it's actually pretty hilarious. You gotta slide down this icy hill and try not to fall into the hole she karate chops into the ice, while also dodging annoying penguins. It's probably the wackiest concept for a fight, and the one that feels the most like a zany Muppet skit. So no, they aren't exactly the most impressive boss fights around, but this game is made for kids and it at least requires you to pay attention to the game while you're playing, so I'd say they're actually pretty decent. Honestly, the main disappointing thing about them is that each fight just kinda starts and ends. They show up, they say one line, and then they say another line after you rescue them, and that's it. They don't get any kind of badass or funny introduction cutscene, so you still don't get a good pre-rendered look at them. And while it's nice that they got all the real Muppet performers for voices, I wish they had something more interesting to say than
Good work, Robin.
Or
Swimmingly done, little Robin.
I mean, come on, they're the Muppets! Let them tell a joke or something! I mean, that's kind of their whole thing.
Ah, you look like Frog, but soon you must duck.
But finally, after beating all your friends and turning them back to normal, it's time to face Dr. Honeydew's uncle, the Master. You might expect him to be more of a Dr. Frankenstein character or something of the sort, but no. He's based on the Phantom of the Opera. I guess they could only handle having so many Frankenstein-based characters in the game, and hey, it actually kinda suits him. Dude looks good. Aside from Kermit, this is probably the one fight that feels the most like a classic boss. You gotta make your way through 2 phases of dodging fireballs, after which you have to bait him into shooting down these barriers, which somehow triggers the platform he's standing on into bashing him into the ceiling. It got a little frustrating since the game and I seem to have very different ideas on what the term hitbox means, but you eventually find a rhythm and beat him. So congratulations, you've unlocked the ending. Robin wakes up in the mansion with his family and friends looking over him. As it turns out, he just got spooked by the butler of the place and passed out, meaning the entire game was just a dream. Or was it?
I went around and fought monsters. I even turned into them too. Wow! And I saved the whole village. Wow!
You know, normally I would call bullshit on the it's just a dream ending, but considering these are the Muppets, this is basically the only way I can imagine them ever turning violent and actually attacking people. And on top of that, the whole game's premise is totally something that a kid would come up with, like Robin. So, you know what? I'm letting this one slide. Looks like the game isn't quite letting me slide though. I'm still missing some evil energy. Well, I'm not about to leave you guys hanging without 100% completion, so let's just dive right back in and find those last pieces of evil energy. Where the fuck is it? I'm missing one pickup in this level, but I can't find it anywhere. I've been running around for like an hour. I scoured every inch of the map. Where did it go? No joke, this actually happened. I got through the level and realized I was missing one piece of evil energy, and I spent forever trying to find it. At the end, I thought the game had glitched and clipped it out of existence or something. But no, that's not what happened. You wanna know where it is? It's behind this completely normal stained glass window that you can only access by landing on this completely normal gravestone you normally never have to jump on, and then gliding through a completely normal wall that has no visual indicators that it's in any way hiding a secret. Holy crap! Oh, and even better? That's not the only one like that. In this level, it's behind a waterfall. And I don't mean in a cave behind the waterfall, I mean through the waterfall! The only hint you get is that there's an enemy in front of it, and enemies stand around in all sorts of random places in this game, so that's not really any help. The last one of these hidden pickups is in Temple of Pork, where you can at least see it right away, but the literal only way to get it is to burn your ass and take a hit to go get it. In other words, you can actually kill yourself trying to get one of the literal hundreds of pickups that are normally just scattered on the floor in every level. I mean, what the fuck, man? Look, I get not wanting to make 100%ing the game easy, it should be a challenge, but this is a children's game about the Muppets. How is any child supposed to find these in any other way than pure blind luck? At least put some weird rocks in front of the waterfall or crack the window or do something to make them stand out. This is just sadistic. Was this game actually made by monsters? Did the entire development team consist of vampires that drink children's tears? Anyway, if you manage to 100% the game, you get a little bonus ending. Which is just all the characters taking a bow like they were part of a play. I'm not really sure if I think this is worth all the work to get 100%, but still, it's pretty cute all things considered. But guess what? We're still not done. The game has one thing left for us to collect. See, enemies normally stay dead unless you yourself lose a life. And when you kill them the second time, you get a coin. I actually think that's pretty brilliant. It motivates kids to keep trying even if they fail. It's like, oh, you died? Well, that's okay. Get back on the horse, have a coin, and try again. It's really encouraging. The problem is that makes about 500 enemies to kill in order to get all the coins. But never you worry. I painstakingly replayed every level and tracked every enemy down to get all those precious coins and unlock a bonus gallery containing stuff like concept art, fan drawings, clips, and little animated outtakes from the game's very few cutscenes. Much like the secret ending, it's honestly a bit underwhelming, but it's still pretty cute. Plus, the gallery menu plays this adorable little song where Robin sings about fighting monsters.
I will survive and downright thrive. If I am brave and strong, I just might stay alive.
That is just precious. Whew, alright, I've finished the game. I've collected everything, I've beaten every boss, I've seen both endings, I've wrung Muppet Monster Adventure completely dry. So was it worth it? Yes and no. Muppet Monster Adventure is not some kind of lost classic, neither as a platformer or a Muppet game. It parrots its contemporaries a little too closely at times. It has a couple of mildly frustrating additions, and it occasionally comes across as having been hurried out the door somewhat, as there are some places that could have used just a bit more polish. And even though the 100% rewards are kinda lackluster, I still had a lot of fun playing it. It's a perfectly serviceable platformer when it all comes down to it. A bit by the numbers? Perhaps, but it's playable, it's fun, and it has just enough Muppet monster charm to satisfy fans of our favorite felt friends. If you like the Muppets and you like video games, you'll probably like this one fine. It's one of those games that could use a remaster to iron out some of the kinks, but would make you pass out if you held your breath waiting for one to happen. Still, It's certainly the best Muppet game I've ever played. But then again, the bar is pretty low. So thank you for watching, guys, and have a very happy Halloween.
Well, they say all good things come to an end.
What's that got to do with this show?
Thank you for watching this spooky episode of Fiction Addiction. Don't forget to hit the like button and comment below. Perhaps about some of your own favorite fun spooky games or forgotten console games of yesteryear. Special thanks as always go to Warren Miller and Silvermoon Ravenwolf, as well as all the other patrons. Life would be truly frightening without ya. And if you're sitting there thinking you'd like to be a grim-giving ghost, you can find links to my Ko-fi and my Patreon in the description to find out how you can support me with small donations. Thank you in advance. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and the little bell to see more reviews, top 10 speed paints and other such things in the future. Not all of them will be quite as spooky as this one, I promise. Bye for now and try not to choke on the candy.